Good afternoon, everyone again. It's me, Malohat, senior teacher at Oregon State University. So, dear students, today at our lesson, we will speak about assessing different aged learners' acquisition in learning foreign languages. So, individual differences in second language learning. Here, they are intelligence, aptitude, learning styles, personality, motivation and attitudes, identity and ethnic group affiliation, learner beliefs, age of acquisition. A good language learner first is a willing and accurate guesser. B tries to get a message across even if specific language knowledge is lacking. Is willing to make mistakes, constantly looks for patterns in the language, practices as often as possible. Before looking at learner characteristics, what problems can you see in the following statements? Extroverted learners learn a foreign language more successfully than introverted learners. Low motivation causes low achievement in English language learning. Difficulties in research on learner characteristics and second language acquisition. Definition and measurement of variables. For example, willing to make mistakes. Definition and measurements of language proficiency, literacy, academic skills versus controversial skills. Difficulties in research on learner characteristics and the second language acquisition. The next one is a correlation versus causal relationship. The next one is socio-cultural factors. For example, power relationship between first language and the second language. And the next one, social cultural identity. Learning styles. Field independent, see things more analytically. Field dependent, see things more holistically. FI, it is field independent, is related to classroom language learning that involves analysis, attention to details, and mastering of exercise, drills, and other focused activities. FD, it is field dependent, is related to the communicative aspects of language learning that requires social outreach, empathy, perception of other people, and communicative skills. FD may also prove to be a variable tool for differentiating child and adult language acquisition due to the fact that FI increases as a child matures to adulthood. Extroversion versus introversion. Are you more introverted or extroverted or introverted? Some studies have found that learners' success in language learning is associated with introversion, such as assertiveness and adventurousness, while others have found that many successful language learners don't get high scores on measures of extroversion. Inhibition versus risk-taking. It has been suggested that inhibition discourages risk-taking, which is necessary for progress in language learning. Inhibition is often considered to be a particular problem for adolescents who are more self-conscious than young learners. Inhibition versus risk-taking. Again, we will continue to talk about. Inhibition is a negative force, at least for second language pronunciation performance. Be aware that inhibition may have more influence in language performance than in language learning. Age of acquisition. The relationship between a learner's age and his or her potential for success in second language learning is complex or controversial. The relationship needs to take into account first the learner's cognitive development, second the learner's motivation, third the learner's goal for learning second language. For example, it is in what aspects of the second language the learner has achieved. The next one is the context in which the learner learns second language, including quantity and quality of language input, learning environment, learning time, and socio-cultural contexts. Age of acquisition. Conclusions. At what age should second language instruction begin? Those who support critical period hypothesis, CPH. Younger is better, particularly in the phonological achievement. Those who consider that the age factors cannot be separated from factors such as motivation, social identity, and the conditions for learning. All the learners may well speak with an accent because they want to keep their first language identity, and the language input for adults is different from that for children because they rarely get access to the same quantity and the quality of language input that children receive in play setting. Summary. The research on individual differences is complex and the results of the research are not easy to interpret. This is because of the lack of clear definitions and methods for measuring individual characteristics. The fact that the characteristics are not independent of one another. Learner variables interact complex ways. It remains difficult to predict how a particular individual's characteristics will influence his or her success as a language learner. So dear students, this is the end of our today's lesson, and revise the learned material and be ready for the next time. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.